Chapter 1 Huntersbrook House. Pippa shot through the main gate of her childhood home, Huntersbrook. Almost instantly, she passed the gate lodge to her right. The two-bed bungalow with its painted wooden-framed windows and immaculate hanging baskets reminded her of the cottage from Hansel and Gretel, minus the cauldron, witch and cruelty, of course. It blended in so well, she found it hard to remember it hadn't always been there. Grandma had built it a few years ago as her own oasis, away from the hustle and bustle of the main house. Sadly, she'd passed away before she could really make it her own. Still, Pippa mused, as it had transpired, it was a good thing. Her parents, Holly and Paddy, had taken up residence there a couple of years ago, and seemed to have found it quite easy to mould it into their permanent home. It was still weird to Pippa that none of them actually lived in Huntersbrook House any longer. The stunning Georgian residence had been in the Craig family for generations. But the downturn in the economy had forced them to rethink things. Rather than letting it go, they'd come together as a family to save it. As she zoomed up the drive, she remembered her mother's finger-wagging the last time she'd come home. "Do you absolutely have to drive that fast, Pippa? What difference will it make to your journey from the gate to the front door? Seconds? You need to slow down, my girl. Just look at the wonderful scenery that's on offer if you choose to glide down the driveway toward the house." Pippa grinned triumphantly as she glanced back at the dust cloud she'd created. She knew she was being a bit of a brat, but she'd always had a problem with doing as she was told. Her mother was right about one thing, though. Huntersbrook and the surrounding land was pretty spectacular. After the muggy, traffic-jammed chaos of Dublin City, this really was like a slice of heaven on earth. Not many houses boasted such an expanse of unspoilt land, bereft of freshly constructed housing estates or even purpose-built shopping centres. The rolling fields, as far as the eye could see, were a joy. Grinding to a halt at the back of the main house, Pippa jumped out of the car and stood onto the side, leaning on the door. Craning her neck, she tried to squint across to the right and into next door. Her sister, Lainey, had married Matt from next door and was now living in the farmhouse with her baby son, Eli, and father-in-law, Jacob. Their houses were very much separate, but close enough for Lainey to feel as if she hadn't really left home. That was one of the many differences between the sisters. Pippa would get on a plane, train or jet ski at the drop of a hat if she thought it would lead to an adventure of any kind, while Lainey had always been a home bird and was perfectly content living a stone's throw from Huntersbrook. As she walked in the side door to the kitchen, Pippa was greeted by a happy screech from Eli. "Hello, baby nephew," she said, scooping him up into her arms. "Hi, Lainey," she said, rushing to kiss her sister on the cheek. "I thought you might still be across the path in your lair." "Joey said to be here for 10, she said. "It's almost 10:15 now. I've made scones and the coffee and tea are waiting for boiling water." "Organised to within an inch of your life as usual," Pippa teased. "Where are Mum and Dad? I didn't notice any sign of life at the gate lodge just now." "Might that have been because you careered by at 1,000 miles an hour?" Lainey asked. "Who, me? Drive too fast?" "Nah," she said. "Have you seen them this morning?" "Last I spotted, Mum was wrestling with an apple tree she bought. Dad is pottering in a shed, I'm guessing. Do you know what Joey's up to?" "Not a breeze," Pippa said, picking a tasty, sugary bit from a scone. "Hey, get away," Lainey said, slapping her hand. "I'm putting them in a basket and we'll all sit and have them nicely once Joey arrives. I can't bear the way you pick like that." "I get it from Mum," Pippa said, shrugging her shoulders. She put a wriggling Eli down so he could continue playing with his wooden bricks on the kitchen floor. "That's not a good thing," Lainey said crossly. "It's so rude to pick food like that. Besides, remember the saying Grandma used to recite? 'Little pickers wear big knickers,'" said Lainey smugly. "Well, my knickers haven't changed size since I was 16, Pippa said, slapping her own backside. "Don't I know it?" Lainey sighed. She looked down at her own figure. Instead of losing the post-baby weight after Eli's birth last year, she'd kind of filled in around her saggy tummy. even